my biggest critic is myself. And I think recognizing that is so powerful.
I feel like entrepreneurship is a search for oneself. What we usually end up building is a vision of how we see the world. And so in the end, really, what you're looking for is yourself.
The biggest setback, I thought it would be, something more technical. It's actually controlling my own mindset.
I always tell people that what you must never do is mistake the moment for you. You're not the moment.
It shouldn't be making us immobile, in which case we're not moving forward or.
Welcome back to Unfiltered with Poch, everyone, where I explore what it means to be an immigrant entrepreneur. Today, I have with me Katherine Li, who's a very interesting immigrant in the sense that her parents were immigrants, and then she's born here, moves back to China at 1, comes back at 7. So she's a second-gen immigrant still, which I think are the most interesting ones because you all are the ones who are like saying, like for your example, it's always that thing of am I Chinese or am I Canadian? It's just that balance in between, which is very interesting. But Katherine runs a company called Pulse FX. Tariffs, you're trying to understand currency transactions. They're the ones to talk to. Like she's a guru at numbers. But today we're not talking numbers today. We're talking about immigrant entrepreneurship and her life. And I want to actually go back to that deep end, which is the part about the identity thing. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, who shows up? Is it like, would you say, I know you don't have the answer to it as you said to me in the pre-show, but would you say some days you're Chinese, some days you're Canadian, or some days you're kind of in between those cultures and just trying to find your way?
100%. I feel that all the time. And thank you for the really warm introduction. Yeah, and today I feel Canadian. And then the other day I miss all the food from back home and I am fully Chinese where I'm, you know, drinking warm water and never letting my bare foot touch the ground
Are you
because of.
serious?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a no-go. um,
Okay.
Small items like that where it comes out, right? And
Yeah.
it
I
happens a
never
lot.
knew that about the Chinese actually. So, like, is that like where does that come from? Like, your foot shouldn't touch the ground, so you must always wear shoes or socks or something.
Yeah, especially in like a female Chinese body, we always say that your foot is connected to the rest of your body. It should not be
Yeah.
touching the ground barefoot, where, in Canada, everyone's barefoot.
Yeah.
People are barefoot outside. So, yeah, no, I have slippers. But I provide slippers in my home for other people when they come.
That that is why I love talking to immigrants is like I learn so much about the world every single time. With every single person I talk to, I'm like, okay, I didn't know that.
Exactly. I love
But
that.
now let's skedaddle over to what we're doing here today. And it's we've talked a ton of times about different things. And I remember when I was just thinking of I was saying to myself I wanted to, focus on the newcomers and all this. And you were talking about deciding to run a business and you talked about the how long it took you to decide. And I laughed when you told me that story. I was like, something I want to explore that with you. And I think this is a good time to do that, which is just walk me through or like tell me what was going through your head when you said to yourself, okay, I want to run a business in Canada. I want to be an immigrant entrepreneur, female. I mean, I want to run a business. Like, what was going through your mind at that point in time?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a space where I didn't actually know any business owners at all. I come from a working class family. I wasn't exposed to it much, but I always felt like entrepreneur would be a very interesting opportunity to explore because if not now, then when? And I know, we had talked about this in the past as well, where it's hard to calm that voice down of I can't. And here are the millions of ways that you're going to fail. Seeing as, I think the stats are crazy. One out of I don't, or I actually don't know the stats, but I've heard the stats where many businesses do not make it past the first year.
Yeah.
So those are the elements where it's always on my mind, and it's, sorry to say, it's still on my mind.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's up to us to keep battling and keep, you know, bringing that self talk into a more positive light. And I think that has been what has worked for me to encourage me to make that leap. And so the nature of my profession is I work with a lot of small to medium sized businesses. I've worked with them for over 10 years now. I've been in this industry, and I used to work for a great firm before, I started my own. And I talk to all these small business owners, and you hear their stories, just like what you say. It's so interesting to hear their stories of how they got started and what it takes, to run a business. And from that, that is where I got more of an idea of as to why I wanted to try this in the first place. And talking about it with my family, my friends, all the words of encouragement has really pushed me to make this, leap.
Just staying on this part where you say talking about your family, that's interesting because you said earlier on that you grew up in a home where, or you grew up in where there's really no, you didn't see people running businesses, and so when you said, okay, mom, I want to go run a business, or your family, I want to go run a business, there was no pushback, there was no, are you sure you know what you're doing?
Well, I am extremely lucky to have one of the most, you know, encouraging and inspirational moms out there. And I think everyone feels that way about their mother.
Yeah.
But she's extremely hardworking. She works a full-time job. She's never had that entrepreneur mindset, but she's always believed in me. And she often tells me she trusts me more than herself. And that type of, you know, encouragement and belief is what, it's my why, right? And I hope that I can provide for her the way she has provided for me as a single mother. Um, and, you know, being able to support her in the future and finally getting her to retire is a goal, is a goal.
That's
And
an amazing
anytime things
goal.
get hard, we got this. Let's go.
I love that why. Like that's a why that makes you stop people, because you're like, in your head, you're like, you know what? Mom has to retire soon. Like, so there's no
Yes.
stopping me. I'm just going. I'm just going. I'm just going. I'm just going.
There's no stopping me. Yes.
And so you talked a bit about spending 10 years. Like, you've done 10 years. You did, like, you worked for a while in the industry before you set out on your own. Still, was it easy? Like, was it easy deciding to, because I feel like when you have a lot of experience, sometimes you can feel like, okay, you know what, I've got this. I know I'm going to be able to handle these and get things done because I've built up networks and I've built up experience and I understand how the industry behaves and all that stuff. But some people, I've heard people say that that's not guaranteed. And I'm just wondering, like, what's your opinion on that? Like, was it easy? Was it hard? Did the fact that you had worked a long time industry help when you kind of started with Pulse FX, your co-founders?
Yeah, well, I love that question because I think it actually brings back to, I guess, the Chinese culture of being very hardworking and disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, being in our business, we have to be always solving problems. We're always trying to fix things
Mm-hmm.
for our clients. And there was also something missing from my life that I wanted more out of. I had moved from different roles, from business development to trading to being management, but I felt like I wanted to do more, right? Like I wanted to experience more, to learn more. And that is why Pulse kind of became as one. And my business partners are amazing individuals who I've worked with for many years in the past as well. And I think, we definitely pondered for the longest time, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think that is true for yourself, for anyone in
Yeah.
this world, right? So, um, I guess you really never know until you actually try. And, let's just hope it keeps going.
And when you now tried, like, two questions. This is a two-layer question. First layer of the question is, when you finally did try, was it as hard as you thought it was going to be? Was it easy? Was it somewhere in the middle? What was it like? What was the journey like? And then the second part I'm very interested in actually is, you talked about wanting more. When you kind of kicked off, when you moved into and started doing pulse FX, like, were you able to now define what that more was? Because I feel like, when you're trying to start a business, you know how that thing where that I know that feeling of more, like you want more. But like for me, I can't define what it is yet. And I'm just wondering if you've able to have you defined what that more is, or is it still that some ethereal thing in our head that just keeps telling us?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to answer the first one first because that's
Yeah.
easier to answer.
Yeah.
I think there's a countless amount of setbacks that we've encountered. And I think that happens often, right? I think it's normal. I feel like everyone that I've spoken to in this entrepreneurial journey has been one thing that has been the most common is that there are going to be setbacks. You just got to keep pushing through. But one thing I think has been probably one of the biggest items where I need to address and I didn't know would be the biggest setback. I thought it would be, something more technical, like banking or something, right? No, it's actually controlling my own mindset. And this requires a lot of effort. And it is a constant thing that you're working on, right? And I think, and oh my gosh, okay, I'll share a story. I was at a friend's place. This was a while back, like a year ago. And we were all going around talking about, what we wish we can improve about ourselves and how we can support each other and such. And she goes and says, I need to get out of my own way. And
Hmm.
everyone was quiet. I think everyone at the table, and there was like four of us, we were all trying to, like, I guess, unpack that a bit for ourselves, right? And it hit home for me. It's
Yeah.
true. My biggest critic is myself.
Yeah.
And I think recognizing that is so powerful. And it doesn't mean that once you recognize it, it's done. No,
Yeah.
it's a constant work in progress,
I
right?
I hate that. I hate that part about the mental battle, because you can understand the mental battle and you can feel it. Like, you can actually even write it down in your journal. But that's where it ends. Once you switch from, okay, I know you switch to the walk into do in here. Gosh. Then
Yeah.
you go back to the blabbering, crying, sobbing self that doesn't have an answer. And who's
Well, exactly. And going back to more of the searching for more,
yeah.
honestly, still searching. But I think I've learned more in this past year than I
Mm,
have in the past 5 years.
yeah.
So for that, I am grateful. And for that, it'll keep me going because I want to keep learning and keep
Yeah.
experiencing.
A thought that just came to me right now was that I feel like entrepreneurship is a search for oneself in a way.
Yeah.
Because what we usually end up building is a vision of how we see the world.
Yeah.
And so in the end, really, what you're looking for is yourself. I mean, it's probably what something to thinking a bit more about. But that's what, as you're explaining that thing of more, that's what came to my mind is like,
Mm.
what we are really doing when we like that more, you're really looking for ourselves. Some
Mhm.
people have the ability to deaden that question and not ask that question and just keep going, and
Mhm.
maybe they never face it in their life. Some people can't dead in that question. They can't. It just keeps drumming back of your head every single time.
Mhm.
Keeps you up at night, keeps you going, keeps you like every single time. Everything someone does to you, you're like, I should be out there finding that question instead of here watching you tell me this. And then you go out there and that's really what, and then you start building your version of how you see the world or
Mhm.
what you want the world to look like. That's what you start building with your business. It's just a thought. Like, yeah, I'm. You're looking at. You're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like, no, no.
I love it. No, I actually did think about this quite a bit on when one of my friends told me he wanted to start a business.
Oh,
And yeah, yeah, it was really nice that, that he came to me. Right? I'm like, "Wait, what? Thank you. Honored." Right? And I got to share, my experience with
yeah.
it. And, just a while back, that was me trying to ask other business owners as to what they think, I should be doing. And I guess the one thing of it all is understanding that, like, putting yourself out there may seem very cringe and weird, but it's actually so needed. And as long as you put yourself out there, there is, power in knowing that everyone's on a similar but different path. And there is kindness in the world and people who actually want to help if you're open to it, right? Um,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. I mean, I feel like I say this all the time that I've told this story like on the pot on the newcomers I talk a couple of times, which is that I forget it was a movie. I think I watched it when I was a kid, and I wasn't watching. I walked into the movie, and I don't know if I've told you this, but told you this, but it was how it was a movie about the war, and there was a little kid that was asking a woman about why the world has so many bad people. Because you know
Mm,
how when wars happen, kids, it really traumatizes kids.
mhm,
And the woman said to the kid that the world will always have good and bad people.
mm,
What you must not do is allow the fact that it has bad people to make you, bad or lose hope in the world. Just find the good people that are like you and just do more things with them.
yeah,
Because that way, that's how you make someone say, "Oh, the world has good people." It's just like that thing they say. If you can't find a kind person, be one. Like be a kind person. Because I feel like a lot of times with the world, we spend a lot of time just complaining and complaining, and
yes.
and being the victim. And I'm not. I'm probably saying that from a piece of privilege about certain things, but also I also feel like there's just that thing of just saying to yourselves that okay, things are bad, things are not exactly where I want them to be, but what can I do to kind of move this forward? And that's what you're saying about, in just especially as an entrepreneur, because if you're an entrepreneur, then you're doubly an immigrant entrepreneur who you're new to the country, for example, you're trying to find yourself, you don't know what to do. You can do two things. You can complain and whine and stuff and think that everyone is out to get you. Or you can say, you know what? There are people who are out to get me, maybe. But there are also people who, if I say to them, I need help, they will be like, how? Oh, how high can I jump to help you? That sort of thing. Like, and they exist out there,
Mhm.
and you will find them if you want to find them. I mean, that doesn't mean to be easy to find though, but you will find them.
No, it's so true. And I love that you bring that up because it's actually a part of my everyday life in work.
Mm.
Our profession consists of staying on top of the markets,
Yeah,
the ever-changing political climate. It seems like things are happening on a hourly basis at this
yeah,
point.
yeah,
And it's out of the ordinary, and hey, this just happened, and hey, again happened. It's making our lives a little hard to like
yeah,
forecast,
yeah.
but I do think that dwelling on it doesn't help. And okay, healthy venting is great. I think
Yes,
we all should have some
yes,
type of outlet,
yeah.
but it shouldn't be making us immobile, in which case we're
Mm,
not moving forward or, making us so upset that, you know, we lose faith in the world because they're
Yeah.
still really kind people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get people who sometimes just feel like the world is full of horrible people, but I'm like, try not to lose faith in the world. It's a beautiful place. It is a beautiful place if you find the right people. Just find your people, and you will enjoy the world.
Yeah. Find my people. I love that.
Looking back so far, like what has been your proudest moments in building this? Like we talk about all the setbacks and stuff, and all getting out of your way. But if you think back about the Catherine that walked away from a big global business and says, "I'm going to go start a currency business," like what have been like? Yes, we did this.
Oh, I love your energy. Thanks first.
Thank you.
It's yeah, okay. Those are moments that I don't talk about a lot because it feels weird talking
Yeah,
about
that's why
myself
I asked,
like
because I don't
that.
know why. When you build a business, people are always talking about the bad things. I'm like, aren't there good things?
Yeah, there are, and it's something that I agree it should be talked about more. I
Mm,
just, still haven't gotten over the initial awkwardness yet. But I did receive recognition from the Peaks 2025 Emerging Leaders list.
congrats! I saw that.
Thank you. Yeah. And then I was on the cover of Founders Beta top female founders list. And when those, articles came out, it was surreal. I was like, what, me? Okay, whoa, really? I never thought, um, that could happen. And I'm really grateful for the recognition and the support that I received from my friends and family and my networks. And it's weird to see my face in the press. I don't know how people ever get used to that. I'm not. But those moments are it makes it worth it. And of course the bad can be the bad, but it also makes the good that much sweeter.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that 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 is it actually. Like that's the thing there. It's like you look back and you're like, oh yeah, this was good. Like this was a good feeling, and then you go back to work again. Because that's the journey. The journey. I feel like it's well, it's a journey, and the reward, like I said, is the reward is the journey. And if you think about what I said earlier about how that more we're seeking is just us just looking for ourselves. That's what I
Mm,
think. It's most,
mm.
we're also looking for ourselves, and it's just doing that. And then every now and then, the world reminds you, either in a good or a bad way. And if you can just tell yourself that the real journey itself is that search for your, like Viktor Frankl will say, a man's search for meaning or something like that sort of thing. Like
Yes.
so, that you're on that search for meaning, and you're building your vision of the world, and you just keep doing that. And every now and then, either that negative or positive. Like life just goes on. I mean,
Hmm.
we know what we said earlier about. See how look how easy I'm saying it. It's not that easy to do though. People listening, it's not that it's hard. So let's not call that out. Just something I want to ask, which is people talk a lot about Canada networking. Like networking is like everything here. Like you have to network and stuff. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. I didn't do too much of it in my past firm because we were quite large and a little bit more well known. So you didn't really have to do too much networking. And now that, you've started your own
Mm,
and it's small and no one knows you, and, you have to build that network and it's got to start somewhere. So I started to join different networking events, little communities, and where we met, Porch, and it's just been actually super refreshing because I think this entrepreneur journey can be really lonely and it can be very hard on ourselves, right? And I'm lucky to have two co-founders, and I know there's a lot of other people out there with no co-founders and they're just doing this alone, and that can be really scary. But communities like Porch and other ones out there provide a pretty safe space for us to be us and share. Actually, I've actually attended a few, virtual and in person. And one of the more recent ones with Porch was, I think it was coffee and coaching.
Yeah, I
And
think I remember that event. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
learned so much. People were open, people were warm, and genuinely, like, I felt welcomed. And I have been to a lot of other events before, like
yeah,
with different networks and stuff, but this was different because I think everyone was curious and people were encouraging for you to share.
yeah,
So it made I guess, a more unique environment for not to get something out of it, but to actually just share. And I
yeah.
think that's really nice.
Yeah, and you raise a really interesting point, which is that more often than not, like I feel like when people talk about entrepreneurship, like all we talk about are the practical sides of things. Like how do you raise money? How do you do this? But what you're really saying here is that personal side of entrepreneurship, just the human who shows up every single day trying to do the business. I mean, you're trying to learn and stuff, but the human itself, we ignore it a lot. Like we talk about it, but people, I mean, it's always been in this couch in a certain way. Work hard, grit, move. It's couch in a certain perspective and bias, to be honest. Like just drink coffee, wake up, take a cool ice bath, do all those things. But really, not everyone can do that. That's one. Two, some people can't just do it because they probably that's not their cultural context, or that's not the life they're used to. Just a ton of things. And it's like I feel like we need more communities that really say. I think Poch just pivoted to that, which is a pretty interesting thing to do. Just saying, hey, what's the personal journey like for an entrepreneur? Because if we solve that, then the person who shows up to build the business is a much better balanced human being who builds a business that makes the country wealthier, which is why I said I guess I mean we want a
Yeah.
wealthy Canada, right? So
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, exactly. If you shape the leaders to be, have great morals, moving forward, helping each other, that's who you want the world to be led by, right? And no, I like that philosophy. And actually, there was one virtual event I attended with Nina from, I think, Peer Minds, where, everyone on the call, it wasn't a big call. I think it was only like 15 people, maybe, but people felt comfortable enough to share their vulnerabilities. It was a very unique session. I think they were recording the session, but I think Hunter didn't. They said not. They were not going to be sharing the recording because out of respect for the people that opened up, and I really respect that decision. In a world where it's all social media, you want content, you want this, but no, they chose to protect
the
their
people who,
members.
yeah,
Yeah, and the experience, right? Like I think that's what's different where they focused on the experience, not to
yeah,
produce content or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
exposure.
yeah.
And
It's
I
so,
think that's
gosh,
unique,
yeah, yeah.
you
It's so
know?
it's so tempting these days to where you want the thing that drives the algorithm. You want to drive rage or attention or stuff, because
Yeah.
that's what wins. And, you
Yeah.
know,
And I think that's exactly it. Like the negative news keeps building on negative news.
yeah,
And back in COVID times, there was actually this one account called Some Good News. I loved it.
yeah. I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
are they shut down? Like, they should still be around or
Yeah,
something.
I think they're still around, but not as prominent in the media. But in the beginning, it was so nice to finally get some, glimpses of
Yeah,
beauty in our humanity. And I think there's actually a lot of it in the world.
yeah, yeah.
It's just we gotta be open to it and change our algorithm.
I that horse is out of the stable. I'm not sure we can get it back for now. Like the algorithm, nah, it's gone. I think it's gone. I just think it's for now. Like it's gone. If you look back on your journey right now, like, and all the stuff you've done, like, is there one thing you'd have done differently in hindsight? If you think about it, is there one thing you've done differently with while you were building a business?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's probably a lot I can say that
I'd
I
love
would
to
want
hear. I'd love to hear as much as you can share.
to. I guess I wish I didn't listen to that, loud critic in my head. I've actually named my critic. His name is Randall. And yeah, it just came to me. And every time I told myself I couldn't, all the stresses that I put on my partner, on my family, on my friends of, debating back and forth if I should do this. I wish I didn't, I guess, was so hard on myself in the beginning and told myself that you don't have to do everything in the first month. It's okay to take a while to figure things out. And it's okay to not have everything figured out and still not have everything figured out. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish I was kinder to myself. Um, yeah, I think that's burnout is very, very real, and I did get that advice from other people as well. But until you're in it, you don't really know
Yeah,
what that means, right?
yeah.
So yeah, and oh, right, one other thing. The bad days are not gonna be forever. They're not your
Mm,
normal.
yeah,
It'll be
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I always tell people that what you must never do is mistake the moment for you, for being. You're not the
Mm,
moment. It's a moment. That's not you. That's not who you are. It's so easy to, for a moment to come and we're like, and we attach our identity to the moment. Like, that's the moment. It's gonna pass. And
yeah.
that's not who you are. Like, so never do that to yourself. Never take the moment and carry it on your head like a cross. And just accept for what it is. Adapt as much as possible. Feel the pain that comes with the moment and keep it moving. Because at some point it'll pass. If it doesn't pass, then you're probably dead, and that's life. That's just what it is. If it didn't pass, then probably you're dead and you've gone to whatever you believe in. But that moment, it always goes by, always.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And those moments have not just happened like, since I become an entrepreneur. I, in the very beginning of my career I've always struggled with this, but especially in a very male dominated industry, finance. And I remember this very, very vividly, where, you know, um, it's funny to say because it's like 8 years back. And I was a corporate trader at my old firm, and I had taken a client call for my trading partner at the time. Actually, he's now my business partner, but he was on vacation, well deserved. And I answered the call. I'm like, I'm his trading partner. How can I help? Can I help you, execute your trades? And maybe he didn't hear me clearly or something. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he answered with, "No, no, honey. I need to speak with a trader." And that moment did stay with me for until now, right? Like it will still always stay with me. And I think that was one of the moments where I think my Randall got a little,
Loud.
support. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. He heard what he wanted to hear, and my inner critic got louder. And from that moment, I knew I had to work harder. I needed to prove myself. And, it fired me up, I think. And I had some great managers over the years, and they've really given me support, and I've had some great partners over the years, coworkers, and they didn't diminish what I experienced. They actually validated what I experienced, as one of the only females on the trading floor. So, yeah, it was nice to feel supported.
Just curious, like, does that still happen up till today? Like, do you ever meet any clients like that today? I mean, doesn't mean you have to work with them, but does that still happen?
It hasn't happened in a minute. It hasn't happened in a while. Last time was probably 3 years ago. I remember that one as
That's
well.
not that far away.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, yeah. But I guess it was more to do with my, sex, that I was a female, you know, instead of anything else. It happens, I think, but I can't let it, I can't dwell on that, right? I have to make my own mark in the world. And that's why, like news outlets like Founders Beta, where they have a female leaders list, I think that's really nice to showcase what females can do, right? And we're battling it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Two last questions. Two questions before we move on to this or that. The
Okay.
one is that you've been in Canada for a bit. Like, you have really interesting journey with Canada in the sense that you were born here. I mean, your parents immigrated here. You were born here. You moved back to China. Came back at some point.
Yes.
If an immigrant entrepreneur reached out to you, lives in Canada, and says, "Can you give me one piece of advice I should keep in mind before starting out?" What would you say to them?
Oh my God, that actually did happen to me. Yeah, I was on an Uber ride to the airport, and this my Uber driver was I think he was an engineer of sort. And he said he's originally from India
Okay.
and told me he had his company then, but he wanted to give better life to his family. So he moved here and now he's Ubering, but he wants to get back into business. And I was telling him about Pulse and everything. And, and he just kept giving me words of encouragement. And it was one of the most unexpected turn of events where I didn't think my Uber driver was going to give me advice pertaining to my company, right? So I think, I guess for people starting out, for anyone in the position of moving to that realm, I think just be open and be curious to everyone around you. It doesn't matter who that person is.
Yeah.
They have their own story and they could share. And it could be your Uber driver, it could be
Yeah.
someone, um, at a cafe or anything. I think as long as you're able to meet people with kindness, you're gonna get that back, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, what's the one question I should have asked you that you think any other person's looking to start a business would learn from? Like, is there a question I should have asked you? And you can probably just answer, just give the answer. Just
Ah, one
maybe something around what Pulse FX
question.
does, because I feel like you all do some really interesting work with finances and people gloss over that a lot. So maybe it's something around what Pulse FX does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we primarily help small to medium-sized businesses because, they lack attention from the financial world. Uh, in this world, size actually does matter. The bigger the firm,
That's
the better.
interesting.
But oftentimes, the smaller companies are neglected. They or they don't necessarily have the capital to invest in a full financial team, um, on their payroll or something. And many times, like those large companies, they have dedicated teams for foreign exchange, for payments, for accounts payable, accounts receivable, balancing that out. And I think what separates our company is that we found this gap and we want to fill that gap and become, that fractional payments go-to specialists for small to medium-sized businesses to have access to and ask questions, right? And we don't replace the bank at all. Like we work, with it, and we're able to help you understand and decode whatever is happening with the markets. And half the time, we're also just as confused, but at least we're able to give you the insight and the heads up of whatever may be coming out in the markets and in the
Mm.
news to help, equipped business owners and accountants and CFOs with all that they need to run their business smoothly, because we know business owners don't have time for anything. So, yeah, if they're, willing to have a conversation with me, usually the numbers speaks for itself, but just it's been a good journey for me just learning all the different industries out there. It's been fun.
So let's do this or that, which is
Yeah.
basically, and the first one I have for you, I'm just going straight in. Do you prefer working from home or working from an office?
Oh, home. I have my dog right here, and working from home is the best.
Bootstrapping or seeking investors?
Bootstrapping.
Hmm. For someone who's in finance, that's pretty interesting. But someday you explain that to me.
Bootstrapping for as long as you can, and maybe in the future look into financing. But I think if you can make it work, we're scrappy. We got this. We'll find ways.
Yeah, yeah. Do you prefer networking events or online forums?
I like events. I like to meet people, not just for the purpose of growing the business, but also just make new friends. Because
Yeah,
after a certain age, you don't have,
yeah,
the
yeah,
opportunity to make friends, like
yeah,
new friends, right?
yeah.
So that's been nice.
Okay, ebooks or paper books?
Oh, paper books. I've got like a stack here.
Have you read all that?
No, they're all the work in progress.
You're like me. Like I read like three or four at the same time. Sometimes,
Yeah.
like just going through them at the same time.
Yeah, the different elements you need. Today I need a
Yeah,
little
exactly,
fiction. Tomorrow I need
exactly.
a little self-help.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon, so both.
Fair, fair. Building from scratch or saying, "Hey, I'm going to acquire an existing business and build it up."
I've only had, I guess, experience from building from scratch. So I guess I would lean towards that. Just
Okay,
biased answer.
well, that's fair. Now this is the one I'm going to find interesting: becoming the face of the brand or keeping a low profile.
Ooh, okay. So if you were to ask me in the beginning of Pulse, keeping a low profile. Now, yeah, becoming the face of a brand. I'm trying to embrace it. Again, Randall's going off and he's yelling at me and saying, "No, no, no. No one wants to see your face." But
Oh gosh. Randall, I love his name. It's a really good way to go. Name him like, yo, Randall. You Randall a lot. You rant all the time. You just keep quiet.
and I am so sorry for all the Randalls out there.
Randalls will apologize to all of
Yeah,
you. And the
it's
last one for
apologize.
me is building a sustainable business or chasing rapid scale.
Building a sustainable business. And I think that goes for not just business, just in doing
Anything.
anything in life.
Yeah.
Why are we trying to rush things? We should
Yeah.
enjoy and smell the roses.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Like I like that philosophy is coming back. I feel like the past 10 years we lived in a world where everything was just grow, 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 chase it so fast and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm sorry. That
that's
line
okay.
is
That's okay.
supposed to.
It's life's going on while we're recording, so that has to happen.
I thought I muted, but yeah, ever since yesterday's or I guess Wednesday's interest rate decision in the US, it's been a bit busy with people trying to figure out, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much. This was as good as I thought it would be. Thank
Ah,
you.